All right, everybody, welcome to the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. I'm here with a very special guest today, my man, Brian Foster. Now, this is the Cowboy before Cowboy, just for all of you out there that are paying attention or in the know of the fight world, especially this weekend with there being the big fight with Cowboy and Justin Gaethje. This is the man before all of that right here. So I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors here, Performance MMA. Go to www.performancemma.com, use promo code CFTPG, and you'll get 15% off on applicable items in the checkout. Also, check out Pure Spectrum CBD. Go to www.purespectrumcbd.com. Use promo code CFTPG10, and you will get 10% off in the checkout right there. So, thank you guys out there for following along. Brian, how you doing today, my man?
Dude, I'm doing great. Brother's getting ready for this fight. Just made weight. Get to step in there and show everybody what's up on UFC Fight Pass.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. So make sure that you check out Brian there on Fight Pass. Where can people follow you along on social media?
You can get me on Facebook, Brian Foster. I've got a couple of those. Then there's the Twitter, Brian Foster MMA. It's verified, so you know it's me. And then just anywhere, really, man. There's all kinds of outlets on social media. If it's me, you can usually message them. I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Awesome. And then you also, you're the owner and operator of your gym too, correct?
Yeah. Family Combat Fitness and MMA here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We opened up about 4 years ago, man. We just started putting out high-caliber athletes.
That's awesome. It's cool to see that that you're now able to return that knowledge in the game back to that next generation of fighters. Daniel Carey has a special relationship with me, so I'm definitely appreciative of seeing his growth and just seeing how elated he was when I talked to him yesterday over his performance last weekend.
Yeah, man, it's super awesome. He went out there and he captivated the audience, man. That's what we got to do. He went out there and defied the odds, and he achieved greatness, not for himself, but for everybody that's under us. You know what I mean? The team and me, as a coach, and everyone else.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you were to say it, along those lines, what was the moment where you knew that, oh yeah, this is a great matchup for Daniel? Because he said that as soon as you saw a clip of who it was or heard who it was, you're like, oh yeah, no, you can finish this guy right away. Like what about that caught your eye?
It didn't matter who it was. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with him. You know what I mean? Where he's at mentally, the work that he's willing to put in on the mats at the time, man. I can't focus and say that anybody in the world would be a good matchup for him, or for anyone for that matter, when they put the time and the effort into it. You know what I mean? You're the hardest matchup for anybody. He was in here doing what it took to be the best, and it didn't matter that he was the best for that guy. He was the best for himself, and he was ready to fight anybody. It didn't matter that it was Gaston. It was just awesome that it was an opponent that they had picked to lose against. And I tend to think that guys that I train, if you count them out, I always show them how to win.
That's a great way to look at it there. Now, let's talk about your fight for a minute. Is this only one fight this weekend, or are you going...
I wish it was three. I wish it was three, man. That's my format. I love fighting. I feel like I get better as the night goes on, you know what I mean? You kind of pile them on me. The pressure's real thick, and I don't know, I just like that stuff, man. That's kind of how I started fighting, and I don't know, I just kind of took to it and made it my own, But this one, unfortunately, it's one fight, and it's I'm fighting Zachariah Kelly, seasoned local dude, trying to make a name for himself. It's hard to find other guys to fight you, man. They've searched, far and wide. It's just hard, you know what I mean? I get it. I got an extensive resume. It's just not somebody you want to fight, I guess, But the kid stepped up, and he's ready, man. So I'm going to give him what he's asking for.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out there on Fight Pass. That last fight, it was the third fight of the where you just took him out by leg kicks. And I was like, holy shit, that just looks like a baseball bat being taken to somebody's legs.
Yeah. No, Alfred, we went back, man. We go way back. He knows exactly who I am. And, he just started fighting, and I was at the top, and it's just one of those things, and I helped him back in the day, and I had a big brother thing on him, and it didn't even matter about that. There was nobody in the world going to beat me. I didn't even know he was in the tournament. So, and then turns out, he's a returning champ. I was, some people would say they hope that guy's in there, but he was one of my homies, so I didn't really want him in.
Right.
I signed up because he had retired. You know what I mean? And then they signed me, and then he comes out of retirement. So I couldn't control that.
That's true. That's true.
I don't like beating up my friends, man.
Well, so speaking of taking it back, let's rewind for a minute. You've had a very long history within the sport. You're 40 fights deep in MMA. You're more than a handful of fights deep on the kickboxing side of things. How did you kind of come into fighting? Like, what started the journey for you?
Honestly, man, it all started for me when I was a young kid. You know what I mean? The ninja side of things. Halloween, and you come up and you see what it means to be the guardian of your family. The man of the family. And I learned what that was at a young age because it was really just me and my mom and my brother. And then I seen what it meant to be a superhero, and then I just started, what do I got to do to be a ninja or a superhero kind of thing? When you're a young kid, fighting and playing with your friends, in that sense on a playground to working your way into a wrestling program and, not being the best, you're definitely finding a way with it. It definitely molded me somewhat and gave me the drive to continue. And then I moved to a school where they didn't have wrestling. I had to box because they didn't have boxing either. I just to stay in, kind of in line with what I was doing as a kid and not getting my ass bullied or picked on like I had happened there for a bit. I just took to boxing because it was going to be the way that I was going to make sure. I lost a fight when I was a kid. Got in a little bit of a scrap when I was a young kid. I got my ass embarrassed and whooped, and there was nobody to cry to about it, So I just started teaching myself to box and took to Rocky and took to Power Rangers and took to everything that I could find on, and that was available to me, through TV and, however I could find a way to learn something really. Being a poor kid, I didn't ever have any, avenue or the money to go train with legitimate people or teams or gyms or whatever. So I just did what I could then. And then after high school, I went to work and I was going to go to college play baseball, but it turned out I had a kid and had to take the job route of things and never gave up the boxing dream. Just stayed with it, used the wrestling and the boxing, and then I found MMA. Man, my brother passed away, and angry kid walks into a gym one day kind of thing, and it just never left, man. MMA stole my soul and fucking saved my life, and here I am.
That's crazy, man. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. I've experienced the same thing, unfortunately, man.
Honestly, man, I was sorry for a long time, man. I'm super thankful that the choice was made. It was a sacrifice in my mind, man, because my family wouldn't be where we are today had I not loved that guy very much. Oh,
definitely. So how did you end up at the Hit Squad?
I trained, after my brother passed away, I fought fucking 13 fights. I fought my very first fight a month and 14 days later, first and second fight. And then I had a fight every month for 13 months. And then I trained and just wasn't getting any better where I was at, but I knew I could still get better because my teammates and the people that I had available to train with just weren't into it anymore. So I had to find an outlet. And I retired. I quit. I told everybody that was wanting me to fight, I quit unless I trained with the best. And they were like, well, if we'll send you to a camp if you'll fight for us. And I was like, well, send me to a camp, I'll fight for you. And they sent me. Oklahoma. We'd never been out of state Oklahoma. They sent me to Illinois to train with Hughes and Mark Fiore and Matt Beach and Robbie Lawler and John Madsen and Jeremiah Riggs, man, Dustin Jacoby, Cortez Coleman. The list goes on and on. There's so many gladiators under one roof. And I became super spoiled. And it's the best gym in the world, man. I think that even to this day, people don't realize how underrated that gym was at the time that we had it. Sorry about that, man. Cottonmouth, I'm dry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. That's that weight cut life.
Yeah, cutting that fucking weight. Oh. Sorry. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
To be, in there with a bunch of monsters and under the tutelage of Mark Fiore. Best time, one of the best eye-opening times of my life. It was like my college year, fight, a fighter house, a fight fucking dorm, and training with the most elite guys from around the world on a daily basis. Man, it was definitely the craziest years of my life, 5 years of my life.
can only
And then
imagine.
the majority of the guys that I trained with, man, all of us became pretty successful after leaving there. You know what I mean? When the hit, our generation of the hit squad closed down, not sure if you're familiar with what happened. You know, Jesse Finney bought it out. And, you know, a bunch of the guys that were under Mark, we just kind of followed them, you know. And then, but we all stayed pretty connected, man. We all stayed, you know, we were our own hit squad alumni. We're all still brothers and tight, and you know, and all of us pretty much still fighting are pretty successful.
Oh, definitely. You know, with some of a lot of those names mentioned, how was that for you? Being that you know you're on the smaller end of pretty much everybody that you just mentioned, all those names. You know, everybody is at least one, if not a couple of weight classes ahead. Especially you know back then, Cortez was still probably around the welterweight region. Dustin was he was a middleweight. All those sorts of guys. Robbie obviously a welterweight. How was it? How did it feel for you having to go up against these bigger gladiators on a regular basis?
It made me rise to the occasion. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the toughest motherfucker in the family is going to be the little brother. Why? Because the big brothers whooped that ass every day, made sure that he was on par with what was fixing to happen to him. I walked into that gym, and my very first sparring partner, and a lot of people that Mark Fiore remembers this. He'll remember it because the first person he put me with here, he goes, he said, "Well, it's good you showed up, man." He's like, "We're sparring." He said, "You bring some gear?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got some gloves." And he just kind of looked at me funny. He's like, "You got some shin guards?" I was like, "Nah." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you got headgear?" And I was like, "Nah." He's like, "He got me headgear and he got me some shin guards." And he first fucking person he put me with was Robbie Lawler, bro. Oof. That was my ruthless introduction to fucking MMA gym outside of Oklahoma, and he toyed with me for about 4 minutes and 50 fucking seconds, and he looked at me right about the time, a 10-second deal clap rolled around, and he goes, "You ready?" And I was like, "Motherfucker, come on!" And he goes, boom, and dropped me on the dot as soon as he called it. And ever since that day, man, like I made it a point, like I'm not leaving this place until I do the same thing to you. You know what I mean? So it was just like getting beat up by my big brothers. I tell people all the time, I tell my guys, my students, I said for 2 years, I spent with my legs above my head because I couldn't stop their takedowns. And it wasn't their takedowns, it was their transitions. It was their punches to their takedowns is why I couldn't stop them. And it was an eye-opening situation for me, something that I teach my guys to this day how to capitalize on. And, you know, it took me a long time to figure that out, man. But once I did that, I leveled up and I made TFC, and here we are.
So let's talk about your time in the UFC. I mean, you've got one of my favorite guys to watch in the UFC, just ever since he's been around, has been Matt Brown. But you've got a victory over Matt Brown. So just what was that experience being like? What's that?
So there's not many people that's meaner than that guy, but I'm a little meaner, I
think. Well, I mean, it kind of played itself out in that situation. So just
that was the point of it. I mean, that was all I really cared about in that fight. Man, I love Matt Brown. I watched every one of his fights. He's fought some of my best friends. And, you know, when I took that fight at the point in time of taking that fight, that's what it was about. It was like, I know he's a mean dude, but he can't beat me. I'm a mean dude that knows how to fight mixed martial arts. He's a Muay Thai guy, so I know how to beat styles, man. You know what I mean? I love Matt Brown. He's a fucking badass. Like, he's a ruthless motherfucker, but I'm a mean-ass dude, and I know how to win.
I just love hearing that. So what would you say was the biggest takeaway from your experience in the UFC?
I guess it would be the after. The after for me is the lesson I'm able to bring to the table for everyone else is that every show amounts to that, but that show in itself doesn't mean anything if you're not ready for it. You know what I mean? It's like every other show. If you're not ready for it, then you're not going to get the promotion to the next one. I mean, granted, there's nothing past the UFC, but if you don't do good in the UFC and you're not present and prepared for the opportunity the UFC provides, man, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't focus on this. You have to focus on being the best you can be for that moment, whether it's the show before that or the UFC. When I got the UFC, I just seen it was like every other show. You know what I mean? And so you can't think with the mindset that you made it because you're still making it. You know what I mean? Like that was the biggest lesson that I took from the UFC. When and I look back and from a personal standpoint, I'm a little bitter. You know what I mean? Like, and you can kind of know if you know my story, you know why. I didn't get to shine like that. I mean, I just beat Brown. I'm on a 2-fight win streak, knockout Forrest Pettis, knockout of night, submit Brad Brown, and I'm fixing to fight Sean Pierce on what's the biggest card in fucking UFC history still. And here I am still waiting. Here I am still fighting. But for sake of whatever the fuck it was, I'm pending. I'm in the air. And, a lot of people have lost sight of what I was doing and, the love that I have for the sport, man. Like you said at the beginning of this, you said that was your words, not mine. I was Donald before Donald was Donald, man. And, or Cowboy before Cowboy was Cowboy, you know what I mean? And, or to the world. And I'm still sitting here. I'm still here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going anywhere. That's not a gimmick, man, to say that I'm the best in the world because a guy that was pretending to be the best in the world and said that, and then he leaves, you can't, hold him accountable on that aspect. But I tell people I'm the best in the world all the time, man, and it rings true every time I get a chance to prove it,
Definitely. Well, and you kind of hit on something that Chris Camozzi talked about here in our fight series at Factory X that we do. Coach has the fighters do speeches every Tuesday, and that's what he had kind of talked about in his speech was getting to the UFC isn't the hard thing, it's staying in the UFC. He said that's what was told to him at one of his very first early times there at the UFC. Would you? I mean that kind of just sounds like you're echoing that same sentiment right there.
That's it, man. It's not about every one of us can make it there, but very few of us get to live that life and stay there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. My guys had the opportunity and the blessing to have somebody that's been there and that knows what to do in the same circumstances and situations to make the good moves for them and their family and their lives. That's what a guy like me is for. I'm not just a coach of the sport and trying to make money from it or anything like that. I'm here to help these guys benefit their actual lives from it.
I think that is that holds an extreme weight, especially because this sport is still so young in the grand scheme of things, in relation to other sports in America, to where there's kind of been, the lanes carved of how you can achieve sustained success or long term, so on and so forth. That map is kind of there. You talk about baseball. Well, I can give you the map of how you're going to get to the major leagues. You play ball. All your life growing up. You either go to JUCO, go to university. You get drafted out of high school. Well, then you work your way up the minor leagues. You get to the pros. Yada yada yada. Football, same sort of thing. You go to college. Hopefully you're good enough to get drafted. Then you go on to the pros. Do what you do in there. Fighting is completely different.
Own demon, man.
It's its own ball of wax. I mean, it's for that matter, combat sports are the only sports here in America that are governed or regulated by the actual government, as opposed to like their own body and own commissioner and whatnot. So fighting is just a completely different game than everything else in that respect. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, 100%, man. That's why I love it so much. That's why I'm attached, not because of the political strings that are attached to it, but just because of the what I get to do for these guys, man. Like that's why I'm attached to it. Like coaches play that football coaches are completely different aspect of what I do because it takes you to build them. You know what I mean? I'm in a position where I can build these guys. You know what I'm saying? If they want to throw it back at me, whatever. But I'm in a position where I can help them not in their fight life, but in their personal lives. You know what I mean? Coaches, head football coaches, and other kind of coaches, they don't help people in their personal lives. That's for them to be. I'm here to take guys from nothing to something and then make sure that they have something left after the world deems them as nothing.
That's incredible, man. I mean, what would you say inspired you to take the calling as a coach? Because I mean, coaching is a calling. You put in a lot of time, effort, resources, energy, so on and so forth that you might not necessarily ever receive any sort of financial gain from.
I didn't choose this. These motherfuckers chose me, man. I didn't do this. I have a big heart, no doubt about it, man. But nah, man, Mom, I love fighting. I'll always fight, no matter if I'm a coach or not. You know what I mean? I'll still compete jiu-jitsu until I'm fucking, gray in the gills. But I mean, these, and that's why I love Factory X, man. That's why I love, them guys are some of the best guys in the world, and they kept me on my toes, man. You know what I'm saying? Them guys, they kept that grind alive inside me, and I've learned a lot from Coach, man. Montoya is the fucking man. He is the game guru, brother, and that's the truth. But there's got to be sections of him placed all over the world. They can't be just only one. You know what I mean? And I took a lot of what he taught me, man, and then I bring a lot of who he is to the table. teach these guys kind of the same thing, but we didn't have guys like me here. We don't have guys like Montoya here or Mark Fiore. So I had to kind of take the reins, man, because I've known a lot of these guys a long time. This is where I'm from. And a lot of these guys have the same talent, but they don't have the, the resources to be able to do that stuff. So I have plenty of guys here that I know can make the same statement that a lot of guys out there are, but they have families, man. And in places like Colorado, places like camps like that all over the world, man, they're really financially fucking a burden on you if you're not good enough and making the kind of money you need to be making to sustain that lifestyle. So places like this exist for guys with families, man, that need to be able to work, and need to be able to train and still be blessed with the opportunity to chase their dreams. So I had to take the reins. I had to come be the Montoya here, man.
Well, I'm glad that you are, man, because I love the sport. I love the guys in it. Everybody here is like brothers and sisters to me.
Oh, they're all my brothers, man. Like I love everyone. I could go through a laundry list and tell you individually what I love about each one of those motherfuckers. Man. I mean, it's something I bring to this place. Every one of us, it's individual commitment to a group effort. You know what I mean? And they have it by the buttload there. And I'm an asshole coach here. Because everybody's not as dedicated as what you would have out there, obviously, when you have a show. But the group of guys that we do have here are super dedicated just like that, man. I'm finally blessed to have that in here. And that's what all those guys are, man. Those guys created that brotherhood, that camaraderie inside me, and that's what I'll have to have around me for the rest of my life.
Definitely. So was the connection that you had out here, just because I've never really asked, was it through Dustin? Is that how you ended up with Coach Mark?
What is that? Sorry, you bleeped up.
The connection made with Factory X, was that based off of your relationship with Dustin, or how did that come about?
Dustin Jacoby Cortez. So after the Fiore MMA kind of went its own way and did its own thing, I moved back home, and I went back to training the best way I could here, and then Jacoby moved out to Colorado to be close to his grandparents and stuff like that. And then he started training at Factory X. And then Hollywood, Cortez Coleman, Crazy Cowboy, went out there, started training. And then they say, hey, Foster, you need to come out here, check this out. Well, I just accepted a fight against Gilbert Smith, who trained at Factory X, so I couldn't come out there just yet, And so I fight Gilbert Smith, and that was my first introduction to Mark Montoya. And I hit him up shortly after beating Gilbert and asked him if I could come out there, if he wouldn't mind training me, and my world domination, and he said, dude, if you come out here, you'll be a world champion. I said, I'm not coming out there for anything less, man. And that's just kind of the way it started, man.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll say this: in my time in the game, or in the circles that I've been around, anybody that that I've spoken to or that speaks of you speaks with nothing but the utmost respect and the highest regard. So I think that's a definite tip of the cap to you, because there's nothing that anybody could even remotely say that is of any sort of negative aspect. Nothing negative in the slightest. Everything has been all positive. Like, this dude is, one, he's a badass, but two, he's an even better guy.
Yeah, no, I love all those dudes, man. That's just me, though, man. I give more than I take, man. I love everybody, and if you're willing to put your time on the mats and you're willing to sweat and bleed with me, man, then that's a different kind of relationship. You know what I mean? You're taking time to do with me and take part in what I love. You know what I mean? And if you have any kind of passion about it, then we're going to be able to make a true different kind of connection, because I'm passionate about it too. So, and those guys, they own my heart, man. I'm telling you, I could go all day long about those people, man. And then the guys here, that's the same way. These guys here, that have met those guys out there, reciprocates. They love them, man. I've got every one of my guys on my team here are fans of every one of those guys out there. And some of them have never even met each other. Do you know what I mean? But that's just how the game goes, And when they do meet each other, like, oh man, my coach, And then they'll make a connection through me. So that's the most blessed part that I have, man, is planting that seed of Brian Foster and these people, and then. It blossoms later on when they gap that relationship of somebody they've seen, followed, met, or finally get the chance to meet, and then that seed blooms into a flower and bonds a relationship based on Brian Foster and knowing me. So it's super cool to think like that.
That is awesome. I mean, where I guess do you see yourself going from here? Like, what are you wanting to go more back in the kickboxing route, or are you wanting to steer back toward the MMA direction, or what's your thought process?
Oh man, well, nothing really past tomorrow. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm fighting November 16th in Poland again for ACA. Not sure if you're familiar with the last little trip I had out there with Z's. I didn't do too well. I got my rib broke. I don't like going out like that. I've got a little bit of something to prove. Something on me about being embarrassed and not competing at my true potential. I feel like those fans were robbed of a true Brian Foster. So I'm going to give them the luxury of bringing my ass back and then making a statement and then fixing that shit. And then we'll kind of go from there. But as far as my goals, I'm going to go knock this dude out tomorrow, man. And then prep these guys for November 9th. Go kick this dude's ass November 16th. And then hopefully Bellator's knocking on my door, getting my ass back in there, getting my ass in there with them guys, man. I see great things with them, dude. I love Bellator, UFC, whatever. But Bellator, we just went out there with DC, and they come to Oklahoma a lot. You know what I mean? Right. Bellator is at the WinStar Casino a lot in Vacaville, Oklahoma. And this is my home. This is my stomping grounds, man. This is where I started fighting, man. Oklahoma. You know what I mean? This is where I started fighting, and I'd really, truly, in my heart, like to end it there. And I think that if Bellator fucking gives me the opportunity to continue and finish out my career in Oklahoma, that I could be a world champion for them. I'll beat Douglas Lima's ass. You know what I mean? I'll beat every one of them. They can match them up all in the same night. Ask them dudes if they want to fight 3 guys in one night. Every one of them motherfuckers will say no. But ask me. Ask me if I'll fight them 3 times in one night. You know what I'm saying? And you already know the answer. So Bellator knows what they have. I know what they have. I just think the connection needs to be made, and they need to let me live out the rest of my dream, man. And not only that, but if they do that, I think that God will bless us both. They'll have one of the best athletes they've ever had, and I'll be working for one of the best promotions that have ever been created. So I think it's a partnership that works well, man. I hope I can make it happen.
Well, hopefully they do make that happen for you. You have your own show, correct?
What's up?
You're fighting for your own promotion, correct?
No, sir. No, no, man. I'm fighting for XFN, Extreme Fight Night. Del Apollo Cook, ex-world champion kickboxer.
Okay. Yeah, Daniel had just mentioned, you were putting up the cage, doing all that stuff.
For the sake of entertainment factor, but it's just not, the timing's not right. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things that I can do just yet without prior obligations and stuff. So when the time's right, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to knock it off the table just yet. But we've got big things on the table, dude. So I'm just really trying to line them out and see what the best fit is for the team, the family, and, for me.
Definitely. Well, you got a pretty stacked day ahead. Daniel said you're helping put up everything, all the fixtures and everything for the show and all that.
I set the cage up, so I own the cage that they do all the fights in Oklahoma and stuff. So they kind of circulate the cage around, they use it, and I kind of follow it around to kind of keep fights on the table for my guys. You know what I'm saying? It kind of keeps me in the loop of all the fights and the shows and any fights the openings they have. They call me for them, so my guys get the opportunities.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's where that came from. I just miscommunication between us, or misunderstanding, I guess I should say, right. from what Daniel was telling me there. But dude, that's fucking crazy. You just cut all this weight. You're gonna go set up a cage and do all of that work. Then you're gonna fight, and then you're gonna take it all down.
Take it down.
You're a crazy motherfucker, man.
No, that's the thing. I'm a passionate motherfucker, man. I love this sport to the point to where not only do I set the stage for you, I'm going to show you how to fight in the stage, use the stage, and then I'm going to tell you how to take the motherfucker down and go home, go to sleep like a baby.
I love hearing that, man.
Last time was 3 dudes, man. It was truly, truly cool. You know what I'm saying? To be able to go in there and win a belt and fight 3 dudes in one night, man. There's nothing better than that shit.
So, with that being said, and you mentioned that you love like tournament style fighting, multiple fights in one night. How do you fight the adrenaline dump? Like, I mean, I just kind of take it in the sense of like you have to get up and ready 3 times.
I think that honestly, I really feel like I'm an adrenaline junkie that has found his content side of it. Like, I don't even freak out anymore. I don't get emotionally attached. I junk-sized, man. Like, I'm already burning both ends, so there's no more adrenaline that's going to fuck with me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I've been to the top, I've been to the bottom, and I've seen both sides of it. So I just don't get overamped. I don't get stagnant still. I just live the moment, man, and I love what I do. And like, I don't know, man, just something's coming out of me here lately because I'm honestly, I was a recreational alcoholic, man. I won't lie to you. Like, my friends even at Factory VX, they don't even know this about me, but they somewhat do, because when I would drink on the weekends, I would just get obliterated. You know what I mean? And I would fuck myself up and wouldn't remember. I'd have hell of a hangovers, and I'd go right back into it sometimes, and it just fucked my life up for years, man. Recreational alcoholism. And then I had a habitual fucking rockstar problem, man. I was super addicted to rockstars, bro, for 15 years, man, and for 10 years or more. And I finally cut that out. So now my body's transitioning and actually doing things for me the way that I've always wanted it to. And being free of alcohol, free of sugar like that, man, it's done wonders for me. And now you see my body being able to go out and do these things that it should have been doing the whole time.
That's a pretty crazy thing that you mentioned there, because how much of a confliction do you find it to be with within the sport as a whole, especially in the UFC, being that two of their biggest sponsors are an alcohol company and an energy drink company with Monster.
It's very fucked up to me, because it's the origin of fighting. Like, this, the two connections that have always been made, like motorcycles, alcohol, and fighting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of disconnected from that side of it. Do you know what I mean? I'm just focused on the fighting and what I love to do about it. The alcohol, it was easy. It's easy. Like, I think a lot of fighters even look at, man, I hope I'll go do good tonight. I can't wait to party with my friends. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they focus more on the happiness and the after of it versus focusing on the part that ain't even happened yet. You know what I mean? They're so captivated with the after, and I'm a superstar, and I get to party, and I get to be with all these people, and I get to feel what it's like to be a winner. And it's like, motherfucker, you ain't even won yet. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I can't, and I've done that. I'm not going to say I haven't. I've done that. But I've learned my lesson, man. And then knowing that now, it's like, it's taught me how to really keep my eye on the prize and focus on the goal, man. And like, in the last year and a half, brother, I'm the best I've ever been. I'm telling you.
Well, man.
You'll see. You'll be like, dude, I just talked to that dude. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, well, I'll be watching. I can only hope to see that everything that you're envisioning and all these opportunities come about for you, because like I said, I've watched. I'm a fight junkie myself. Like I've watched. I can't even tell you how many hours upon hours of just film and old stuff, going back through the catalogs of Fight Pass, everything like that, and watching.
I've got every old school UFC on VHS, bro.
That's insane. Like that's a different level of passion right there, especially on VHS. Like that's crazy. That's real love.
You're one of them, dude.
But we've covered a fair amount of topics here. Is there anything that you want to get off your chest that we might not have said yet to this point?
Dude, of all the podcasts that I fucking listened to, took part in everywhere else, like, legitimately, this has been like the longest relationship that I've heard about that we've yet to be able to close in on. So I'm super stoked about getting on the Peanut Gallery, dude. This is super badass. It's super big, cool, super awesome to fucking meet you, man. I wish I was a little bit more hydrated and in thought process to fucking kick it with you. Like,
oh no, you're good, man. I mean, I had a great time talking to you. Well, we'll have to get back together sometime soon and do another one. Once you go out and kick some ass this weekend, and then once you're on the way, building up to Poland or something in that effect. We'll get another one in. We'll get it taken care of. I think I dropped it for a second. And folks, just like that, we're going to make a wrap on this episode. Mr. Foster's phone died in the process. But before we wrap up, I want to throw a quick couple of shout-outs to our sponsors here at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. I want to throw a shout-out to Performance MMA. Make sure that you go to www.performancemma.com. Pick up your merchandise, any of your training gear needs that you could possibly want in the combat sports related field. Type in the promo code CFTPG in the checkout, and you will receive 15% off of your purchase there. Also, check out Pure Spectrum CBD. Go to www.purespectrumcbd.com. Use the promo code CFTPG10 in the checkout, and you will receive 10% off of your purchase there. We are the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. You can follow us along on Instagram at Comments from the Peanut Gallery, on Twitter at Peanut Podcast. Look us up on Facebook, www.cftpg.com. Check us out on Patreon. If you decide to throw some support our way there, we will definitely make sure that you're highlighted and credited for anything along those lines. Thank you very much for following us along here. This is the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. Signing out.